Welcome back everyone to our Making It Fun gameplay series using the career mode in NASCAR Heat 3. So our last video was a lot of fun for me. We got to run 50 laps at Drebin, and I love the smaller dirt tracks. They are a lot of fun for me. The bigger dirt tracks aren't quite as fun for me, so I really enjoyed the time that I get to spend at places like Charlotte or Drebin on the dirt. So now we did great at that race with a top 10 finish. Now it's time to move on to Bristol. Now Bristol is going to be interesting because you need a lot of horsepower at Bristol to do well, because we're going to be running wide open, except for when we're in traffic, of course. And so it's going to be interesting to see how our car stacks up, because of course we're going to be down on horsepower as well as grip. Let's go ahead into the facility now. You can see that our short track car is back down to all 70s, engine, aero, and suspension, and that's because that happens after every time we use that particular chassis. So we're going to need to work on it again, and that means adjusting the work plan. But what we're actually going to be using for this next race at Bristol is the normal chassis that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. So let's go ahead and to adjust work plan, because first and foremost, I want to get an idea of what's coming up. We've got a normal track, then we go to Texas, which is short. Then we go back to Eldora, which is a normal size track, then a road course, and then back to normal. So we're going to get a lot of use out of this normal chassis going forward. But the good thing is it's every other race, so we have plenty of time to work on it if we need to in between, and not just have the one session of working on it. All right, let's get our engine taken care of on the normal. Okay, our max here is 80. Let's see, do we want to deal with that and maybe increase that? I'm not sure, actually. We shall see. Of course, we've got maximum of 90 right now on the suspension and the aero. So we're actually going to get to 80 on the aero and 90 on suspension. So we should have the most grip that we've had up to this point. And then, of course, our engine is just going to be down just a little bit. So before I actually get started with the work plan, let's take a look at a couple of things. So improve equipment. We've got 13,800. Let's see. Oh yeah, $1,500 is not much at all. So we'll go ahead and get our engine up to 85. As of now, I don't have any plans on further improvements to aero or suspension beyond 90. We'll see how it goes. But for right now, I would really like to keep things at 90 on that side of things. And we'll see how things go with 85 on the engine. We might go up another one to 90, another notch to 90. We may not. We'll just have to see how things go, because we want chances ultimately to win some races, but we don't want it to be very easy to do. Now, we could always purchase another chassis here, and that would enable us to get more employees, but we're going to hold off on that right now. Let's get back into our employees, and let's see what it would take. Okay, so we don't quite have enough. I was thinking, can we get this guy to 15, and that way we would only need one engine guy, and he would work out fine the entire time. So we'll go ahead and get him up to 13. And that'll be good for him. Let's see if we, with the money we have left. Okay, we have just enough to get our aero up to 12. So that'll be perfectly fine. Again, not quite what we need, but I think we're going to be just fine without hiring more employees. So we'll go ahead and let her be at 12, and that'll be good. For now, we might increase her some more later on, but that you get the general idea of what you can do with employees. And again, long term, the more of these chassis you have, even if you don't necessarily use them, it enables you to hire more employees until you can have as many as you really would like to have. All right, with that in mind, let's go back into our work plan, and you can see we've got everybody lined up and we're going to end up with, what, 83, 82, and 90 on our normal car. Let's go into, we got one more person to put on here. There we go. Let's put Andrew on the suspension on our short track car, and then we'll come back to that next time. It'd be nice if we had one more person to put on the aero for this, but again, I'm not really wanting to purchase any more chassis right now. So let's go ahead and start that work plan. And there we go, 83, 82, and 90. So a pretty good car overall that we're going to have for Bristol. Again, we're going to be running at 50% on the settings, so that should, based on the fact that it's the Wrangler 100, I'm guessing that's going to give us 50 laps, because I'm pretty sure the 100 in this case stands for laps rather than miles or anything like that. So with that in mind, let's head to Bristol. All right, here we go. It is race time at Bristol, and this should be interesting. The AI are very aggressive here. We're going to be starting 15th or thereabouts after they've made the pre-race adjustments on who's going to the back. And unfortunately, the worst part is we're starting on the outside. That is not going to be good, so we're going to try to get to the bottom as soon as we can, and we're going to try to make as little contact with other cars as we can get by with. Alright, yeah, a lot of lifting right now, because these guys are going slower than I anticipated. Alright, we are right on the edge of the top 10 now. So we've certainly made up some spots very early on. You can see that the 9th place car has decided he's going to block me even on the straightaway. So we'll have to figure out a way around him. See if I can go. Actually, I think we're hooked together there. Alright, see if we can get by him on the outside. Okay, I think we did it. So that's a lot more speed than I was planning on having, given the importance of top speed at this particular track. Alright, so we're in 9th. So far, so good. Of course, it's a 50-lap race. Ouch. Why are you slowing down so much, Goodman? So it's a 50-lap race, so we got plenty of time. Alright, these guys are really wanting me to try to go on the outside of them, which is fine with me. I enjoy running the high line here. In fact, that's really where I've had some of my best laps as far as lap times, is on the high side, but with our reduced horsepower, I'm trying to keep it on the bottom, or at least fairly close to it. Now the setup itself, I did adjust the gearing, of course, since we are down on horsepower. I adjusted that to get some more RPMs and get those back up into a decent range. And the handling, I went ahead and tightened the car up some. I didn't want to tighten it up a huge amount because I wanted to make sure that the car would still be able to rotate. And I'd rather it over-rotate a little bit than under-rotate at a track like this. Alright, we'll take it. Coming up on 10 laps into the race, and we are comfortably inside the top 10. And let's see if we can hunt down these guys in the top 5. So we can easily run this track wide open. What I'm trying to do when I'm not in traffic is just be smooth on the wheel and not turn the wheel any more than I have to. You can tell from the lap times we are well off the pace of a fully upgraded car. Of course, that's the idea. Alright, I think we're reeling them in a little bit, but they're showing some pretty good speed up here. The key is going to be when we get into traffic. I see a bunch of cars up in front of these three immediately in front of us, and they are all running nose to tail, which is unfortunate, but part of the game and the AI behavior. So that's going to be really interesting when we get to them, assuming Because I'm assuming that a bunch of those cars up there are just running that slow. Alright, here we go. Yeah, they're running that slow because we're all going to catch these guys, and let's see how this works. I'm not real keen on just throwing it right up in the middle of these things. Because again, I'm trying to minimize contact. I really don't want to make contact with any other cars, but it's kind of hard not to. Alright, for now I'm going to stick to the bottom. Wow, this is tight. Alright, so the leader's right up here somewhere because we are in third, now second. And there he is, right on the outside there. So he's on the outside, so that's good for him. Because I think it's ultimately where I'm going to need to be. Yeah, these guys are all, unfortunately, they don't really race with each other near as much as I wish they did. They just basically stay in line and run behind. We're still in second, so nobody's passed us on the outside for position yet. I'm a little surprised. Ouch. Somebody felt like I wasn't giving them enough room there. Oh, that puts us in the lead. Okay, so somebody we just passed was actually the leader. I didn't think we were quite that close. Alright, so now we are in the lead, which is a bit of a shock to me. I thought we might have a shot at maybe a top 5, but we're running much faster here than I thought. Of course, we've had a lot of help from... We've had a lot of help out here from the lap cars. Sorry, I got the phone ringing on me here, and I'm kind of waiting on a phone call, so I'm hoping I don't have to pause the game in the middle of all that. Waiting on a phone call from the doctor's office. We've got a car right behind us, and I'm not sure if that's for position or what. I kind of think it is, but I'm not sure. Car's handling good, a little bit loose overall, but that's kind of what I expected and hoped for, because it keeps the car rotating. It enables me to really have an easier time running the bottom in traffic. Yeah, like right there, right before the center of the corner, it gets a little bit loose, but we can certainly live with that. Ouch. It does look like, as I'm looking in my side mirror, that we're pulling away from second place when we're in clear traffic. The key for us is just to make sure that we dispense of all these lap cars without spending too much time passing them. Alright, we are approaching halfway. So 50 laps, that means that we are about 26 laps in. I have not been paying attention to what lap we were on. In fact, that's one of the few things that I do appreciate the spotter for. He doesn't seem to help me a whole lot with where other cars are, but at least he keeps me in line with 10 to go, halfway, 5 to go, that kind of stuff. Alright, coming up on another big train of cars. In fact, it might be the same train of cars. If they're going slow enough, then we might be coming up to lap them again, which is very unfortunate. I remember mentioning in the setup video for this particular track that you end up with, once you find speed at this track to any great degree, you end up with the AI having maybe 2 or 3 cars that are up to speed, and the rest of them end up being like moving chicanes. Alright, this is a mess because they're running side by side. And I'm going to try to weave my way through here as easily and gently as possible. Yeah, some of these guys, this is their second time to be lapped. Easy now. Alright, so we made it through there with only minor contact. A little door-to-door banging there. Again, trying to keep to the bottom as much as I can just for speed purposes. If we had more horsepower, then I would venture up more toward the upper edge of that darker groove up into this area, because that's, as I mentioned earlier, this is where I've run some of my very fastest laps on the track, but that requires a little bit more horsepower, I think, in order to really get a lot of speed going. Alright, there's some more guys. Yeah, they were running side by side. Alright, we're up close to the top 10 now. This is certainly not what I had in mind. Let's pull up the standings real quick. Okay, so second place is 5.5 seconds behind. We're not exactly setting a blistering pace here, so and we're on maximum difficulty for the AI, so I'm a little concerned with where things are here. I was really thinking that 85 on the engine would have us a good bit slower than this as far as the standings, but we are easily running away with this. We started 15th, so the AI, they qualify quicker than they race, which would normally be what you would expect, but they race so much slower than what they qualify. Our qualifying 15th gave me a lot of hope that this was going to be a good race for us, but it is not turning out to be that. I guess we can look at the positive, though, and say that this victory will get us into the playoffs at the end of the season for this particular series. So it'll get us there. Alright, I think I've seen all the standings I need to see. We're pulling well ahead of all the other cars. Oh, we got this is a mess of cars up in front of us now. Oops. Need to start paying attention to the track. We are having some fierce battles right up in front of us at the back edge of the top 10. Alright, let's try the high side on these guys. Maybe. Nope, they're going to run side by side. Right up in front of us. Good news is I think we can get them both at one time. A little surprised to see Baker Dillon back this far. It seems like she was running up front in some of the other races, so I would assume she was going to run up front most of the time. She is not having a particularly good event here. Ouch. It'd be nice if she'd give me just enough room to exist on the track. Ouch. Okay, that was a big hit. I told you these guys were aggressive at this track, and they are certainly living up to that. I'm not sure if they don't recognize that I'm there or if they just don't care. Alright, a couple more laps to go. Hopefully we won't catch any of these lap traffic in front of us. Yeah, that's just, you would expect over a longer race, you know, especially after 30 or 40 laps, you'd expect these guys to spread out quite a bit, but they have decided to run all together. We're going to be very careful. And I'm going to be in no particular hurry. Here we go. So we'll take it. Not exactly the victory we were looking for, but we had enough speed to get us where we needed to be. We will not be doing any burnouts. And yeah, I mean, look at that. We're almost 13 seconds up on the field, lapped all the way up to the top 10. Yeah, not good overall. Not what we were looking for. I'm disappointed in the AI for that. I would have expected more. Of course, the upside is we get a very nice payout. Bristol is one of the higher paying races until you get toward the end of the season. Eldora, the finale, is a big time event. So we'll end up a little over 24,000 from this race, and hopefully we'll pick up some more fans so we can get some more merchandise sales. Because that's something we're going to keep with us as we move through the different divisions, is that merchandise. So the more money we can make there, of course, ultimately it's going to mean the more upgrades we can get. Fastest lap, 16.7. We were running 16.9s and 17 flats, and nobody could hang with us. So, again, just disappointing. We'll see what happens when we get back to the shorter tracks. All right, so we gained 17 fans. Okay. Wow. I was hoping for a few more than that. All right, we got our contract payout with the top 20s in 2 of the 3 races. And, of course, we got top 20s in all 3 of the races, including that victory. And now looks like we got another message from our mentor.
Hey, it's Haley. Congratulations on your first Xtreme Dirt Tour win. That's huge. Now let's go get a bunch more.
All right, congratulations on our first win. Let's go get some more. And now we've got some messages on our Twitter feed. Bristol may be tough, but that's no excuse for how you drove it. I love it. I love it. I'll go ahead and apologize, but guys, y'all got bigger problems than the contact we had. You aren't the only one on the track. Stay off my bumpers next time. No thank you. All right, so be it. We will get out of that. Let's see what is next on the agenda. Might have another hot seat offer coming up. And yes indeed. We could use your help driving the number 92 truck at Dover this Thursday. We're looking for a top 22 finish in a 3-star car. That would net us $12,000, and that's going to be interesting because a 3-star car at Dover to get to the top 22 is going to be a challenge. I can't wait to do it, but of course we'll do that next time. For now, thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned as we continue our Making It Fun series in NASCAR Heat 3.